Welcome to Education Matters, presented by the Public School Forum of North Carolina. I'm your host, Mary Ann Wolf. This week, we're lucky enough to be joined by some outstanding educators. The 2024 Burroughs Wellcome Fund Teacher of the Year, Heather Smith, is joined by the Regional Teachers of the Year from across North Carolina to talk to us about their plans for the upcoming school year and what it means to be recognized for their commitment to students. Teachers matter, and so does what we pay them. North Carolina must increase teacher pay. We rank 38th in the nation in average teacher salary. A third of our educators don't earn enough to meet their basic needs. No wonder there are nearly 3,000 teacher vacancies. At a time when states like South Carolina and Alabama have passed historic teacher raises, North Carolina continues to fall behind. We need to fund our local public schools that are educating the vast majority of North Carolina children. Today, we are so pleased to be joined by Heather Smith from Waynesville Middle School, who is the North Carolina Burroughs Wellcome Fund State Teacher of the Year. We are also joined by several of the Regional Teachers of the Year. Anita Rubino Thomas from Currituck County High School, Nardi Roughton from Creekside Elementary School, Rachel Brackney, or Brax, from Southwest Edgecombe High School, Jennifer Blake from Carthage Elementary School, Will Mars from Davie County High School, Sarah Lefebvre from Health Sciences Academy at Monroe Middle School, and finally, Lee Haywood from Uwharrie Charter Academy. Thanks so much to all of you for joining us. We know how much teachers matter every single day to our students, and that you are the number one school-related factor that impacts their outcomes. We'd love to hear from a couple of you about what does it mean to be highlighted as the Teacher of the Year in your school, your district, and your region. And Heather, I'd love to start with you because you were then recognized across the whole state.
Yes, thank you. I have to start by saying that we're very fortunate here in North Carolina that our Teacher of the Year program is a cohort model. I'm very appreciative of being named the North Carolina Teacher of the Year, but it's truly a team effort. And you will see that as you meet my teammates, that any one of us could have been in the shoes that I'm in right now. And I think that that's why it's so important that we know that these regional teachers of the year across the state are the voices for our students and our teachers. So I really appreciate that part of North Carolina that we do get to work together as a team. And I think I can speak for everyone by saying that it's truly an honor to have this recognition because we get to uplift our students, because we get to uplift other educators. So to me, being named a Teacher of the Year at any level is just a true honor and recognition that we are having a voice that can be heard. And I think that that's why it's so important to me.
Wonderful. Will, would you share why this has been so meaningful to you?
To me, it's such an honor to be able to represent the district that actually raised me. So I still teach in the district that I grew up in, and I teach beside colleagues that are my former teachers. And so being able to be a voice and an advocate for those individuals that are working so hard every day in and out, but also the next generation of students that are coming through my counties, it's just an absolute honor. I don't think I deserve it sometimes because I don't come from a traditional educational background, but it's absolutely awesome to be a window and a voice for some of the amazing things that our students are doing and the opportunities that we're able to give them within my district and in my region. So I'm very proud.
Well, I know that every one of you should be here, but I do appreciate how much you represent so many educators and students across the state too. We know that in North Carolina, people really care that our public schools and education is able to prepare our students for life and to be self-sufficient and successful and well-rounded. And I wonder if any of you would like to share an example without giving the student's name of just how you've been able to really help do that.
I had a student about 6 years ago. I teach third grade, and he was struggling a lot with just being social with other students in the classroom and just day to day getting through things. A lot going on, you could tell inside, but that he wasn't able to express. And so it came out in the wrong way several times. And finally sat down one day and he just broke down into tears. And I said, well, what is going on? And he said, you haven't made me leave. And I was like, well, I'm not going to make you leave. Why would I make you leave? And he said every adult that had worked with him prior to that would just send him out in the hallway. Just send him out of the way. He was disrupting everybody else. He was just too much to handle. And I said, well, you're a part of our family right here. And you're not going to leave. We're going to make it work for you so that you can be successful with us. And we're going to come together and support you. And I think that's what our job is as teachers with every student, is to show them support and love and how they're going to be successful in whatever atmosphere that they're in. And it's been 6 years, still hear from his mom, probably once a month to let me know how he's doing. He has his first ever girlfriend. And so he went from like talking to no one to now having his own girlfriend. He would carry a stuffed animal with him every day, and now he doesn't carry the stuffed animal anymore. So just huge gains since that. And I hope that I had a little something to do with that. But I think teachers deserve the credit of they're really taking the time to do that with not just one, but with 20 students this year and 20 students next year and hundreds of students. It's a very cool thing to be a part of.
Wonderful. And just thinking about how that multiplies, right, Jennifer, on and on
Oh,
and on.
yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share an example?
We all have that student or 15 students or 20 students that drive us to be who we are, right? So I have this student this year that reminds me of what I was, my life back in elementary school. I teach 4th grade, and I strive to be the teacher that I had because they helped change the trajectory of my life. So she came to me today, and we were doing something on the iPad and she didn't have headphones. So she's like, I'm sorry, I don't have headphones. My parents can't afford them. I said, you know what? I'm going to get you some headphones. Tomorrow you will have headphones. So little things like that, so, and just the look on her face when I said that I would do that for her. So it's just the little things that seem little, but to her, it's the world. So that's what I try to keep in mind when we work with our kids.
Thank you all so much for illustrating how our North Carolina schools allow us to prepare students. You did that beautifully, and I really appreciate that. We know that your job is a very hard yet hopefully rewarding one, right? And you do so much in a day and make so many decisions in a day, and just as you've just described, right? Always making sure you understand what your students need. We'd love to hear a little bit about some of the challenges you face right now, because I think it helps our watchers and viewers and listeners to kind of understand what it's like. I wonder, Sarah, if you'd like to share a few challenges that you see in our schools today.
I think the immediate thing that comes to my mind is like in Union County, we are 5 weeks into the school year, and already we're running out of time. Like it's always a challenge, just the sense of urgency that the teachers have, that there are things that our kids need to know to be successful. So like in the schoolhouse right now, in person, those are the conversations. Like, how do we know that they've gotten this? Well, we're already trying to get this standard done, but we got to move on, and there's this and this. So there's like that sense of urgency teachers have that is always a challenge, the pacing of things and getting it all in. So that's part of it. And I think there's the other challenge of balancing curriculum with the relationship piece that we know is an important part of growing kids. And so there's going to be kids that need extra love, extra attention, extra relationship. That can be a challenge. Of course, those things are opportunities, right? There's the challenge of fitting it all in. It makes us be more creative, and it makes us really plan together and lean on our colleagues. And so that's an awesome opportunity. Another one that's standing out to me that I know people are experiencing, not just in my county, but across the state and the country, would be that we're 5 weeks into school and there are teacher vacancies. There are still some students that have not had a teacher of record in front of them. And we are doing everything that we can. Our teachers are showing up to support those kids too. we're being really creative and facing that challenge, but it is an issue. That one is like really on my mind right now because I think we have to shift as schools. We need to start thinking now, not just in the summer. How can we support teachers through the year, veteran teachers, beginning teachers, so that we can recruit and retain people that are passionate about this profession?
I wonder if anyone would like to talk to some of the challenges that you think are contributing to that right now. Because when I became a teacher in the mid to late 90s, I was really nervous I wouldn't be able to get a job because there weren't a lot of vacancies, right? You were really at the mercy of somebody leaving and being in the right place and, bringing that criteria. There were a lot of qualified candidates. So I'm just curious if you all have some thoughts on what might be contributing to the challenge of recruiting and retaining educators.
I wanted to speak to kind of both those questions about retention and also just the struggles. We wear so many hats right now. I'm the charter school teacher of the year, so even more so sometimes in our public charter schools. But support staff for our students who are struggling, trauma and depression. I mean, our students deal with so much right now that when a lot of us went to school, they may have been there, but they weren't. The social media aspect and everything, that things happen so fast now for them. Um, we spend a lot of time not just giving instruction, but to try to help our students that are, dealing with things that are keeping us up at night worrying. And so being able to have people in place in each school that are certified and ready to handle those issues that really we can help with, but it's not something that really we need to be speaking with them about when there can be a certified person there that can help them a lot more. So just getting counselors and support for our teachers, I think, is really important. But I know we've talked as a cohort about just things that really bother us, that our students that are struggling, and we're very passionate, I think, about all of us about getting everyone the help that they need. So, but just the fact that we feel like our hands are tied a lot of times, that we can't give them our full attention because we also have to instruct or be a nurse or be a parent or be all the things. I think it's overwhelming for a BT to have to juggle that. It's overwhelming for me as a 20-year veteran. It's overwhelming for a first-year teacher.
So you've all referenced opportunities like having more support staff, whether counselors, social workers, psychologists, about how we could address like the opportunity with educator pay or housing or other pieces like that. Are there any other opportunities you'd like to mention here?
It's interesting now when we start looking at some of the challenges that they can be viewed as opportunities. So viewing an opportunity to change how teachers have traditionally approached instruction as single model, single teacher in the classroom, and then working collaboratively across classrooms to leader teacher models, going in, pushing in, building up other teachers, modeling instruction, collaborative planning, in order to be able to address the needs of students, especially when we talk about the presence of long-term subs in these positions that lack the content knowledge. It's allowing us to rethink how we're approaching education and that reach. And I have to say that this year, being pushed into that opportunity, I'm able to reach more students, which has been, to me, a greater opportunity to know my school base, which I'm enjoying.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll continue this conversation after the break. Welcome back. We are so pleased to be joined by this year's Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina State Teacher of the Year and the Regional Teachers of the Year from across the state. What do you want voters to think about when they're voting in this election? Because I think there's just issues on your mind that you'd like voters to think about? Because whether, as Heather mentioned, you're talking about your school board race, your county commissioners, they actually are the ones that provide the local budget. And then your state legislators have such a significant role. There's the Office of State Superintendent, there's the governor, right? There's so many people who actually affect education. Does anybody have some key questions or some pieces you'd like voters to think about when they go to the polls?
So I think that the number one thing is that you keep children in mind when you go to the polls, and that you put kids first, and that you put education first. I think that especially as public educators, we all know that education is the foundation of every single thing that comes after it. And so if you don't invest well in public education or in education, then your economy's not going to grow. It's only going to crumble. And so understanding that it's not about voting for a certain party or for a certain color or whatever it is. It's about voting for what is in the best interest of our children, and that in turn is the best interest of our future.
Thank you so much. Heather, do you want to add to that?
I love the point that you made about it's not a party decision. It's truly understanding the issue and what the candidates have to offer in those issues and how that will uplift our public schools. I think it's important too to actually get out and vote. Like, I think the numbers are a little staggering for our educators across the state on how many educators actually go out and vote. And I think that, just as we've talked about this wonderful role of Teacher of the Year being an opportunity for us to use our voice, we've realized that we could have had, and we do have this voice before even being named. I think that knowing that you have a role, and I don't want it to sound like super cliche, but your one vote does matter because you're truly putting into play what you feel is necessary for that. So, Brax, I really appreciate you saying that, knowing that it's for our students, it's for our educators, and that it's not a party decision. It's truly an issue decision on what we want, what's best for our kids.
Wonderful. Jennifer, I think you wanted to add to that.
Obviously they both had great answers, and my initial gut reaction when you asked was vote for what's best for children. And not just your children, but the larger scope of children in general, because what your child is going through is not necessarily what the other 19, 20 students in the class are going through. The kids that are going in my classroom right now every day are going through way more than I ever did as a kid. And so that even changes how I have to look at things when I vote and what's best for the children. But I think it's also really important that we mention educating yourself. We're teachers, so our job is to educate. That's what we do. But I have a 10-year-old, and we sit and we watch TV sometimes at night, and she'll see all these political ads now, and she turns to me and she's like, "Mommy, all these ads are just talking about this person's bad because of this and this person's bad because of that. None of them are telling me what they want to do or what they're going to do." And I said, "You're actually really, really right there, kid. Like, that's very observant of you." But I think it's just really important to mention that if you're going to vote, research this a little bit, read about these candidates. There are places you can go and places you can look. There's resources available online to find out who these people really are, and what they have voted for in the past, what they're probably going to vote for, what their initiatives are, and just make sure you're making an educated, informed decision. Again, not based on the party and not based on what the ad on the TV said or what your neighbor is going to vote for, but really taking some time to look at what they stand for and what they're going to do with their position.
Wonderful. Anita, I'd love to start with you with what inspires you.
Of course, the students are number one. That's always going to be my driving inspiration. They're amazing. They're talented. They're creative. Their brains are just open to learning. And that is exciting to be able to work and partner. But it's not just partnering with them. I'm inspired by the parents that entrust their children to us and our community members and my colleagues. I wouldn't be a teacher if it wasn't for the amazing colleagues that I work with every day that inspire me to continue to learn, to continue to develop my craft so I can have that impact on students. So I'd say a big part of that inspiration is the people that surround me every day and help uplift me.
Wonderful. Jennifer, what inspires you?
Well, I mean, obviously the kids, but immediately I thought of the light bulb moments. That's what I call them in class. You have the struggles and the kids are not getting it and they're working through it and you're reteaching it and it just feels like they're never going to get it. And all of a sudden you see the light bulb go on and I'll point to them and I'm like, oh, I just saw your light bulb. It just turned on. I saw it. And they finally get it. And the smile on their face and the excitement that they feel because they finally got how to multiply or whatever the concept was is just a feeling you, as we said, you can't get anywhere else. And the worst day and the worst month and however tired and frustrating you might be, when that light bulb goes off, it just fills your passion right back up and you're ready to keep going.
I love it. Brax, how about you?
So I think that my story is a tiny bit different than all of theirs, and all of you guys know this. I'm a huge crier, so I'm so sorry if I cry during this. But I hated school growing up. It wasn't a place where I felt welcomed or safe or loved. And I refuse to have another kid go through that. And so I make it my mission every day to make sure that my kids know that like they're loved, they're cared for, there is somebody extra on their team. And in my role right now as a principal intern, I have the ability to like make more of an impact and meet more of those kids' needs. And I think that's what it is. Every time like I know that I have a bad day or I might have a bad interaction with a student, I think back to like, what would 7 or 12 or 17-year-old Brax need in that moment? And that's what drives me. So yeah.
Thank you. Lee?
Hard to follow that, Brax. I love art. I mean, the artist Matisse said, creativity takes courage. It hangs on my wall outside my room. It's not easy to come in here and express yourself, but my kids, they come in here and they use art as an outlet. It's their language. The arts in general is what I'm so passionate about. It keeps kids in school. It made me want to get up every morning and go to high school and middle school to see that art teacher that I had that inspired me. So, just being able to wake up each day and go to a career, come to this classroom where I get to coach kids to love it too. It just is the coolest thing that there is.
I love that. I love each of your own perspectives too. It's amazing. Heather, you get the last word. What inspires you each day?
I think celebrating educators, because I'm going to use this math term, it's like this exponential growth, right? Like if we can make it our mission to celebrate the people that are constantly in our field, uplifting the children, it's going to be a continued growth where we're constantly in this together. And it goes back to, we get this opportunity to have these kids in front of us and make these real world connections and see that there are so many pathways for our students. I think that's one thing that inspires me is that we get to be on this outside looking in of rooting our kids on, saying you have endless potential and we see that in them and we may be the only person that sees that in them, and we're rooting them on to say, it doesn't have to be a traditional pathway. It can be the pathway that works best for you. And so making those connections with them and allowing them to see that they can be anything that they want to be. But again, celebrating those educators, that they know that we're creating this future of wonderful students. And if it weren't for them, and our students every day, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So I appreciate every educator and the work that they do, because you are needed, you are important, because there's, just like you guys talked about, your students being your inspiration, they need you too. So thanks.
Thank you for taking time with us to learn and think about education. That's all for today, and we'll see you next week.